it's really interesting to learn from these kind of grim lessons that the Paris Commune teaches us about how far the ruling class is actually prepared to go when there's an actual threat of the working class kind of seizing control. Because all they want to do is defend their system, defend their profits. So I think this is always a good indicator as well to how threatened they feel and kind of like how big the threat is for them losing control. So I think when we look at the Paris Commune and the high levels of state repression that we saw, it just shows what the potential of the Paris Commune could have had if those lessons that we have now were clearer and taken into account. So can you tell us a little bit about what this counter-revolution looked like, actually, Paul?
Well, Yara, I don't think there's anything that we can say other than that it was a bloodbath. And I'm going to give you a point of comparison because we're talking history. 2 years ago, here in Manchester, we commemorated the Peterloo Massacre of 1819, which was a movement. Harper was talking earlier on about the working class being formed in France around about 1800, similar situation in Britain. And the first movements of the British working class were to demand the vote. And there was this Peterloo Massacre in this very city, Manchester, where the nascent working class was demonstrating. Now, estimates suggest that there were probably about 20 people killed on that afternoon. And we rightly in Britain call that a massacre. But for the Paris Commune, the best estimates, which are in a way the worst estimates, are that between 17,000 and 20,000 people lost their lives. Why the huge difference? Is it that the ruling class in England are kinder than they are in France? Well, we know that's not true because we know about the history of slavery and the thousands of slaves that were killed in the galleys and thrown overboard and things like that. So it's not the case that the British ruling class is any kinder. The difference is that the French bourgeoisie saw the power that the working class would have when it would organise, saw that working class rule was actually possible. That they were determined to make the working class pay the heaviest possible price. In addition to 17 or 20,000 deaths, there was between 4,000 and 5,000 people transported to French colonies in the South Pacific. And many of them, of course, didn't survive the journey either. So, as Lenin rightly said later on, 20,000 dead. That shows you that the bourgeoisie will stop at nothing. There's another aspect to this as well, which is that, as we know, the war was fought between two rival imperialist countries. And obviously the French bourgeoisie and the German bourgeoisie hated each other. But if there was anything that they hated more than each other, that was the idea of a revolutionary working class. Bismarck, quite unprecedentedly in any kind of rules of European war, Bismarck released French prisoners of war that the Prussians had captured. He released them back to the French government so that they could attack the Parisian working class, because he, of course, knew that socialism was infectious. He was already beginning to face up to the organized working class in Germany, passing anti-working class, anti-combination measures and things like that. And he was terrified of the impact that the Commune could have on German workers or German soldiers, for that matter, who might come into contact with them. So it really does show the absolute rage and fury of the bourgeoisie, determined to eradicate any vestige of workers' power. All these people had to be slaughtered, and anybody else who had a memory of the Commune was going to be so terrified that they wouldn't speak of it again.